Hey guys, Unfair here. Welcome to a new Cutting Room Floor series. This one is for the director's cut of Deus Ex: Human Revolution. This series is going to have a lot of cuts, and not much commentary from me. This is basically supplemental to go along with my other Human Revolution playthrough. I've already shown off the game itself, so in this one I really want to feature the developer commentary. There are a few other changes in the game though. For instance, the boss fights are a little bit different now, so I may add videos for those from time to time. So let's get started.
Hi, welcome to the Deus Ex Human Revolution Director's Cut commentary. Here is Jean-François Dugas, the game director on the game, and I'm with...
Mary DeMarle, I am the lead writer on the game.
And I'm Jonathan Jacques Belletet, and I'm the art director.
And I'm Steve Shipkowski, I'm the audio director.
And we'll have probably some guests with us today.
What do you mean, almost?
With the first cutscene, well, when we started this project, we were kind of like... It was important to us to have links to the X1, but we wanted it to be subtle. We didn't want it to be totally in your face, even though the first character you see is Bob's page.
But you're not supposed to know that.
We wanted it to be subtle, so the first thing we did was to do just that.
But what is strange, even with the die-hard fans, when they saw it for the first time, most of them didn't recognize it, even though we tracked back the real actor.
Yeah, we went out of our way to find the real actor. We thought it was important to keep the continuity and to use him, and we thought the hardcore fans would really like it. And I think the plan was to keep the guy really in the shadows.
Yeah.
And I remember I was with Dominique Demers, the lighting guy. I was darker, let's put it darker, and it was all constantly a debate of how much of his face we should see or not. And that was fun.
More challenging than anticipated. Fortunately, thanks to David, I now know where to look.
Yeah, so now it's the cutscene where we're introducing Adam Jensen. Actually, this TV news is probably the only TV news that has some animated 3D in it, which was the original plan with those TV news. But as we figured out the scope of what we had to produce, and we had so much to do, and with all the other cutscenes and stuff, we quickly realized that we wouldn't be able to.
We wanted them all to be 3D.
I know that when I was writing it, I wanted it to be like, first you wouldn't even know you were watching the news. You were actually seeing like the stuff going on at the Capitol building, and then slowly you realize, oh, it's news. But what we kind of envisioned doesn't always work.
Yeah.
And then with Megan and her necklace, that was another very important part for us, because from a story perspective, we wanted to establish something that was a part of her, something that made her human, and that would have on this relevance, because eventually we had all these plans that like you might find it in the FEMA facility where she'd been taken and stuff. So it was a very important thing, but I think that we didn't necessarily communicate that.
No, this is one of the few little times that me and you didn't talk or something about it, because usually things went pretty well in terms of what you wanted and what I wanted. But yeah, so at one point it was like, we had her design down and everything. Megan was pretty much finished in terms of what she would look like. And I think it was either you or JF, you came up and was like, where's her necklace? I'm like, what necklace? You're supposed to have a pearl necklace. I'm like, really? And I'm like, the whole thing's done. She has this big collar and she's all zipped up, and I'm like, where am I going to put it? It's like, well, just put it over her clothes. I'm like, you don't put a necklace over her clothes. But we ended up doing it, which I think looks... I personally think it looks tacky, but it's fine. I mean, it works. It works in the sense that it did the purpose that it had to do.
So now we're in Megan's room.
Yeah, this is Megan's office. Obviously, pretty much the first in-game part of the entire game. This was a pretty important room for us, because since the clutter is really important in the game, we wanted to make sure that it was there straight from the get-go. So this is one of the really, really good rooms in the entire game, where it's extremely cluttered. That pillar of the art direction was quite well executed.
And the Cyber Renaissance is, you can already feel
it. You can really start feeling it and all that.
It's not the biggest one.
It's not, for Cyber Renaissance, it's not the biggest one, but definitely for the clutter, it's one of the good ones. Now, I have no idea why everybody's so messy in this game, though, and that nobody cleans or you know, puts their stuff in order, but doesn't really matter anyway.
When the end of the world is coming, you
That's
have
true.
other priorities.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
Like living your life.
Like living your life and leaving pieces of paper everywhere and stuff like that. They probably don't even know what paper is anymore anyway, because they're in their phones and stuff. That's why the paper is all over around. They're like, we don't know what that is.
Now if we look at Megan, like her idle stance is quite awesome.
No,
like,
the idol is
Yeah,
she's a
I've
sexy
always
kitten,
hated
right?
that. I've
a
always
sexy
hated
kitten
that
who wants
when
to
you
go to
turn
the
and
bathroom.
look. Exactly, and I've always hated that. And quite frankly, when I play the game, I like to explore and find the different items, even though I know where everything is. And so I purposely don't look at her the entire time.
Yeah, I think it's almost borderline sexist, really, just the way she's
No,
standing
I think
there.
it's out of character.
It's out of character, but it's also
It's
like,
totally
you know,
out
it's a
of
woman
character.
waiting for a man, and she's like, you know, like, it's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
Sometimes,
yeah,
we know it, but we realize it too late.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this room too, we, like Mary alluded to, we had several pieces of information that actually were kind of selling in advance a little bit the conspiracy and the story twist and everything. And actually, that was a huge debate among the team, like among the people in the team, whether we should hide those. How
those
items.
obvious should they be?
Yeah, do they be obvious or not?
Yeah.
And,
Should it be like, and in fact, I think the achievement you get for getting all of them is old school gamer or something like that, because we
Really?
were, yeah,
I didn't even
because
know
we were
that
thinking
achievement.
that,
Yeah, it's the
we were
point and
thinking
click
that
kind
it's
of,
like the point and click mentality,
Yeah,
because it's really
It's the-
something that's up to you to decide.
It's the
and
King
find.
Quest achievement.
Yeah, but for me, it was really important that we hide them. But some thought it was maybe too hardcore, and we went into when you get close, you have now the icon that you can press, so now you get the information about
you need that. at
So I
least.
think it was kind of a fair ground. Yeah.
I agree.
So internally, we've always referred to this section of the game as the walk and talk, and it actually wasn't the original opening for the game. We had a completely different idea for the opening to be more of a training mission where you're infiltrating your own company as part of a security test. But there was a lot of discussions among the team, and a lot of people didn't think we could pull that one off, and ultimately we ended up kind of taking a new direction on it and working in this kind of vein.
It became the walk and talk, and actually was a nice way to have a good show don't tell moment, establishing the world and the characters.
And
right off the bat.
exactly. And at first because I really liked the original idea, so I wasn't really keen for the direction. But then as I started working on the script, I really did kind of start to like how it shows off the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the first draft of the script, I think it was Joe who pointed out that we were putting a lot of technobabble in there, and it sounded
like
much more Star
It sounded like
Trek.
it sounded like it was like a big spaceship that they were running, you know.
So we had to kind of go through extra passes to fix that and to lengthen it.
Here to the right, it's cool. Like we have one of our artists with he wanted to have an homage to the $6 Million Man, which was really cool and showing off that we're not that young.
That
So-
girl is such a bitch there, man, stuff she said.
Well, we had to establish all their characters right off the bat as fast as we could.
And it was another nice addition about having the VersaLife logo. And stuff.
Yes, and the arm. I remember a lot of discussions about this arm because it plays a very important part later in the game, and we really needed to
show
showcase it. And
that's why he has one sleeve and on the other side
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
have anything.
And I remember also with the artist thinking about what the arm should look like because it needed to be recognizable
Absolutely.
for when Tongue would have it, but at the same time we didn't want it to be like, I don't know, just like purple or something, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It needed a subtlety and at the same time something that you would remember.
That's true. And that scene, like with the Claymore explosion,
That's a
it
cool
took
part.
it's really cool, but it took so long before it worked. Like the dolls were always staying in the air or not moving or just falling on the ground. It takes time.
Yeah.
Pleasures
And
of physics.
if I remember correctly, they're going to get in the elevator now. And there was, I think, a lot of technical issues, first of all, with the elevator. But one of the things that we also wanted to do was we wanted to kind of focus. As they get into the elevator, you'll see suddenly we get the camera shot. And we kind of wanted to have this theme running through the game that this is Eliza who is controlling the cameras and watching Jensen all the way from the start.
Spying.
And spying on you. So here, where this was a good moment, and my one regret was it was such a great idea, and I think the cinematic director brought it up, but then just unfortunately never carried it through with many of the rest of it.
Yeah, it was a very good idea that
we ended up not really carrying through. Well, you know, we got so
when
much
you've got
to
a
do.
project this big, yeah.
Now to talk about the dog, right? The famous
Oh, that's
dog,
right. The dog. The dog was Adam's dog. Yes, that was something when we were working on one of our earliest demos of the game, and we had to fill the world. One of the script writers said we should have this email about Adam's dog, and it should be dead. And I was, you know, at first my reaction to that was, oh, that's terrible. But as long as it's not a cat, it's okay. And
dogs are fine.
And
they
then
can
we
die.
were able to take that and carry it through much more.
Now we get one of our favorite characters.
Yeah, Pritchard.
Yes.
And
Right,
this here,
Pritchard.
like, what is really cool is that, just like a real guy, he just looked very, not too subtly, to Megan's ass. And like,
Quick
with-
glance at her butt.
Exactly, and I think
fact
it
that
had
he-
authenticity.
Yeah,
to
the
Well,
fact
it
that he also did it in front of her ex-boyfriend.
It
and
definitely
everything.
tells you a lot about the character right off the top. Like he hasn't even spoken a word yet, and just that action speaks volumes as to his relationship with Adam.
Yeah.
It's Andreas.
Yes.
Andreas Aspergus.
Aspergus did,
Yeah.
and actually it was quite fun because I think from a writing perspective we really wanted Pritchard to be this dick, and Andreas was so good. He'd come in and he would do this, and after every take he would finish it and go, God, I hate that guy.
And now we hear the
UNATCO theme.
The UNATCO
Yeah,
theme.
I really thought when I heard what Mike had done, there was a chance right there to kind of bring a little homage to the UNATCO theme, and we felt like this was sort of our new UNATCO, and we wanted to just give a little nod to it, and I found it was a great way to showcase into the beautiful room that John and his team designed here.
Yeah, no, and it worked really well because we're just past that point now. But when we first walk into the corridor that leads into David's office, is really one of my favorite parts of the game. This is where you crescendo with the music at that point, and this is one of my favorite rooms in the game as well. And just everything just culminates together, and it's just like
It's very emotional.
it's so emotional.
It's really strong.
Yeah. I think for the story, but also for what we try to put together as a team, it's all there, and I think it's very emotional for us as well, just as a in relation to the project, you know.
Right, absolutely. So now, if you look at the sky by the window and everything, like one
The
of
city,
the city,
you know,
one of the early version, like the sky was filled with so many aircrafts that it felt like
That little
it was
flying cars,
yeah,
whatever
it
were.
felt like it was Coruscant in Star Wars, and we were like, no. Okay, it's in 2027, but like it's still the normal world.
Well, the thing is that they're not even flying cars. There's no flying cars in our game. In the world that we created, there's supposed to be choppers or personal airplanes or private jets or whatever. But it's even now, I think there's too much. But it used to be columns, like in Coruscant.
Yeah. It's much better, but it could have been
It's much better, but it could have been. Because Adam has his chopper, but we never intended this to be a world where there was particularly suddenly people just flying around.
TIE fighters everywhere.
to go shopping or whatever, you know.
And then on the Serif's desk, there's the chessboard.
Yeah, the chessboard is pretty funny because I had a thing with one of the guys at Square Enix in LA where he gave me this really great idea once. He wanted the chessboard, the pieces to be placed as the winning move of Kasparov against Big Blue. And or was it Kasparov? I was about to say Bobby Fischer, but no, it was Kasparov. And I kept telling you, it's a great idea, you know, we'll totally do it. And I was always forgetting, you know. And every time they'd get a new build down in LA and he'll play it, and he would like send me an email, man, the pieces are still just like there's no game going on, you know. And I was like, I'll do it. And I just kept forgetting, and we ended up not doing. But it was a great idea because I'm sure with the kind of fans that we have, they totally would have picked it up that it's the last move. Yeah.
And now, as if you go to the elevator, now there's the code, like in the pure tradition of Looking Glass and Ion Storm games.
Yeah, I mean, 451 has been in all of their games. A reference to Ray Bradbury, one of my favorite authors. May he rest in peace. And so we knew it had to be the first code in the game.
Right.
And one of the funny things was that actually when we were creating again the demo, I think it was for E3. Which happens much, much later in the game, one of the level designers, without even thinking it, put in the code 04 1-5.
He switched the numbers.
Yeah, he switched the numbers, and everybody was like, "Look, is that supposed to be? Is that no? It was for getting into Tom's back office
in the hive.
Okay.
So, but we just knew we had to get that in for the first code.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I had a flight once while we were making the game. I don't know, I was flying where, probably for some marketing, whatever, something. And I'm in the plane. I'm looking at my flight number, and it's 0451. And I'm like, no. And I took a picture. And I actually tweeted it first, and then people were like, no way. And then I'm like, yeah. And I took a picture and I posted, and people were like, my God, it's a premonition. It's like, walk out of that plane, it's going to crash or something.
On a remote island.
So this section where the attack takes place, originally what we had wanted to have was that you would actually go back through the area that you saw through the walk and talk, and kind of do that kind of whole half-life thing where you take the descent down and then you fight your way back through everything you saw earlier. But apparently remind me again, JF, I think the original walk and talk was not designed.
No, the layout was built in such a way that it was just made to be controlled, not to have a player have total freedom.
I mean, we would have had to change it a lot to make it gameplay kind of acceptable, and then we wouldn't have recognized it as the walk and talk.
Because even there are some places we didn't put collisions or
exactly.
anything.
So in that sense, then we had to kind of refigure a bit of the story in terms of. Actually, it came in better for us because then when you come later into Seraph Industries and you see the signs, you see parts that are under construction, and it's because it's where Megan went to in the elevator ride. So it ended up working out pretty good for us.
So here we're just right before the scripted event with Barrett, where he kills the scientist. What's funny is that originally in the map layout, as you were walking down this corridor, there was a window in front of you with fire and smoke. And what's funny, it's when you were getting there, it was triggering the scripted event. But players were attracted to the window to look outside, and they were totally missing the scene with Barrett and everything. And at some point, I asked the artist to remove and just put I would say a blend wall to make sure that players are attracted in the direction of Barrett. And after that change, like in the playtest and everything, it was working super fine.
Damn artists.
So here in this room we see for the first time the two Black Ops killing a scientist that he falls off the guards and everything, and that has been a crazy ride just to get this thing working. We were on the verge of cutting it because it was really hard to have those scripted events working with the environment and with the physics and everything. It has been a nightmare, and I fought until the last minute to make sure that we get this in, and finally it worked.
It worked really well.
It was
I don't think most people realize, most gamers, how hard it is just to put things like this. I mean, depending on the engine that's being used, but how hard it can be to have those scripted events going. It's just one guy being pushed over, railings, but it's
especially when you don't have the tools.
And if you don't have the tools.
And on the audio side, we worked really hard. Like for me, it was a huge thing to try and really sense the show don't tell of the terrorist attack happening. So like as you're walking and you're coming across dead bodies and that, I thought it would be cool if we could hear the sort of the violence and the killings and all that before you see it, and then when you'd come around the corner you'd see the bodies laying there, and it would kind of put it in context. It didn't come out as hot and sexy as I hoped and wanted, but it came out really cool. And again, there was certain limitations we had to deal with that was behind it, but the team came together and pulled out something that was really close to what we wanted.
Yeah, so here we're just before the corner where Fedorova is introduced, and she kills some guards. That was a lot of work and everything, but that sequence came quite late during the development, and we realized too late that it wasn't working because we foreshadow it with the two guards being killed at the other end of the corridor, and we thought players would be attracted and see what's lurking beyond the corner. But actually what happened is that most players were scared and they were just taking cover and waiting and waiting.
Yeah, because they just saw people like getting gunned down and everything. So
And
obviously your first reflex,
coming.
is just to kind of hide or whatever.
And then when they were getting on the corner, when they realized nothing was
The
happening,
whole scripted event.
the door was already open. The scientist on the other side of the door was already killed. So like it was and most players it was like that, and we were like, oh no.
And they never got to see Fedorova, and it was so important to try and set her up. And I remember that first animation that they had.
Yeah, it was a little outside of what we wanted, I think, Fedorova to be, because she, it's a bit of a clumsy sort of scene how it came together, and she sort of just dematerializes and then materializes on the other side of the door, and we even thought, like, to try and help that, we put in the sound. If you listen, you can hear like almost the footsteps in the vent of like her traveling to the other side, but then she'd kill the scientist and she'd look at the players and do this kind of almost like Betty Boop sort of like blowing you a kiss. And we're sort of like, it's not really working
and I
for
think
us.
everybody was
that
kind of
one.
like, that's not this killer, this silent killer.
No.
That's certainly not what she's like.
But
And
in the end, it came out pretty well when you have the opportunity to see it, right?
Yeah, but they changed the
but we
animation.
changed it. That's
what I'm
changed
saying.
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we had to see it for a long time.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah,
bothered
yeah.
people.
Yeah, I gave up at one point. I thought, this is it. This is what's going to stay.
and I think
no, it's
every
good. She
single
just-
one of us went to the animation team and said, you have to change
Yeah.
it. You have to change it.
But
the
now
other-
she just hops over the fence now, right? That's
yeah,
what we,
absolutely.
that's
And the other problem we had was with the visuals, because she was jumping through the roof air vent, but the hole was so small. Like, how can you fit in that? It makes no
it
sense.
needs to be at least
3 times bigger.
twice as big. What is this? An air vent for ants? But it sounds. Did we make it bigger in the end?
Yes,
Yeah, and we made it a bit bigger.
a tiny bit.
Tiny bit for more ants.
So the goal of this cutscene was really to surprise the player and get him. And I've always hated that shot of Megan because it makes it look like, what the heck is she doing while this terrorist attack is going on? It's supposed to be, is she a part of it? Whatever. She
Still
should have
has to
been
go to the bathroom.
cowering in fear. But for the most part, I think this cutscene did a pretty good job of conveying the horror of what happens to Adam in this scene.
Yeah. I remember feeling bad for him.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost gruesome.
And you can really understand all those arguments.
That I really hated. I really don't like the green acid. It's like so like Saturday morning cartoons. Like look, it's all green.
Like Ghostbusters.
Yeah. And here Namir is going to come to us, and originally it was supposed to be in gameplay, and actually
We
we
could
had
move the camera and everything.
we had a working prototype, but hey. So yeah, with the opening credits, actually it seems like people really liked it. Our original inspiration was to kind of the James Bond movies, the $6 Million Man's trying to showcase this augmented character and everything, but we wanted it to be really stylish, really like a James Bond movie. Sometimes they go beyond, they go in the abstract.
It's very stylized.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's actually more stylized than what we did. But no, it works really, really well. And I think Steve A, the sound, the track that's on it is just completely insane. By the way, that's a pig. Sorry, I cut you. But when we see the thing cutting the flesh, it's actually a real piece of pig that was bought. And,
When I saw the visuals, I was really impressed. It looked really cool, and I thought it was going to be really important to sort of nail it with the right music tone, because I think something that wouldn't have worked as well might have undersold the power of the scene, but it was really powerful. When I put the music to it with the visuals, I was just kind of like, yeah, this couldn't work any better. Mike McCann, the composer, just really hit this one out of the park, and the reaction we got when people saw it and heard it, they loved it right away. Even I think Goldtooth, the people who produced the
who actually put it together.
They came back right away saying the music track is just selling this whole thing. It's bringing it all together.
It really was. And I remember the dialogue in this. It's so funny because the dialogue is so short and so simple, but you needed it to convey basically some of the hinting of what's going on with Sarah forcing the augmentations, but also we wanted it to sound like a real surgery and the kind of thing. So I remember giving it to one of the writers on staff and saying, could you kind of write these opening lines and stuff, and he was going on and researching all about operations and CCT scans and all these things, and in the end those little details are so important just to make it and pop it. Even if you can't hear it, it works.